Mouth, smiling maliciously, crooked. The knowledge of the master cynic is based on a crooked superiority. The powerful man sees to his advantage, even when he knows that he thereby comes into a morally dubious position. A crooked smile, an evilly clever gesture, easily arises out of crooked superiority. The smile defends a bad status quo, an injustice. The rights of others? Where would we end up? Hunger? What's that? One corner of the mouth, often the left corner, is drawn upward. On the mouth of the master, the split in his consciousness becomes visible. The other half knows that there is really nothing to laugh about. One half of the mouth turns knowingly upward, so that the other half involuntarily falls contemptuously downward. The worldly realism of the master cynic comes from the wish to save face, while getting his hands dirty. This face thus often goes together with polished manners. The cynical smile appears, true to form, embedded in a brazen politeness that restrains itself and reveals that it wants to keep others at a distance as surely as it controls itself. This is the smile of the heights of power and its melancholy, as it can be seen on high officials, politicians, editors. Best of all, however, one can imagine courtly personages of the Rococo with this smile, as, say, the unhappy, unctuous man-in-waiting of Louis XV, Le Bel, in the film Fan the Hussar, whose smile was as crooked as the comma between yes and but. Mouth, bitter, tight. The life experiences of victims are revealed in their bitterness. On their lips a bitter silence forms. They cannot be tricked anymore. They know how things work. The emphatically disappointed may even gain a small advantage over fate, a space for the play of self-assertion and pride. Lips that are pressed tightly together and narrowed to thin lines because of hardship betray the worldly, experienced side of those who have been duped. Even some children whom life has treated badly have these bitter, tight mouths from which it is so difficult to wrangle some sort of consent to anything good. Mistrust is the intelligence of the disadvantaged. However, the mistrustful can easily make stupid mistakes once more when their bitterness causes them to pass over what, after all those painful things, would do them good. Happiness will always look like fraud and will seem much too cheap to be worth reaching for. Bound to past experience, the cynically bitter lips know only one thing: that ultimately everything is deception, and that no one will ever again bring them to be soft and blushing, surrender themselves to any temptation of the world's swindle. Mouth, laughing loudly, big-mouthed. When the cynic smiles melancholically contemptuously from the illusionless heights of power, it is characteristic for the cynic to laugh so loudly and unabashedly that refined people shake their heads. Cynical laughter comes from the intestines. It is grounded at the animal level and lets itself go without restraint. Those who claim to be realists should, strictly speaking, be able to laugh this way, this total, uncramping laughter that wipes away illusions and postures. We have to imagine the laugh of the great satirist Diogenes as just such a laugh, and Diogenes is related to the wandering Asiatic monks who presented their pious trickery in the villages and, roaring with laughter, disappeared from the scene when the villagers discovered that the holiness of these holy men was not quite as they had imagined. In the expression of some laughing Buddhas, too, there is something of this animal, and at the same time ecstatic and realistic belly laughter that frolics about so unself-consciously in its springs and thrusts that no ego is left in the laughing, only a serene energy that celebrates itself. Those who are too civilized and timid easily get the impression that there could be something demonic, devilish, unserious and destructive in such laughter. Here is the place to listen carefully. The devil's laughter has the energy of destruction within it, with crashing crockery and collapsing walls, an evil laughter above the debris. In positive ecstatic laughter, by contrast, the energy of a perplexed affirmation is at play. In spite of its wildness, it sounds contemplative, celebratory. It is also no accident that women rather than men tend to laugh in this way, and the drunken rather than the sober. The devil's energy is the energy that laughs until the others fall silent. In the laughter of Diogenes and Buddha, the ego itself, which had taken things so seriously, laughs itself to death. Of course, that takes a big mouth that can be opened wide without hindrance, not for fine phrases, but for a strong vitality in which there is more astonishment than pretentiousness. The kind of big-mouthedness that interests the philosopher is not an active, but a passive one. The saying of, "Ah," when we watch fireworks or look at a mountain, or in flashes of genius in which "aha" passes through us. With great insights, we want to shout. And what are great insights other than a release from false complicatedness? Mouth, serene, still. In a satisfied face, the lips rest on each other, imperceptibly vibrating. Everything is as it is. There's nothing to say. Diogenes sits mute in the sun and contemplates the stone steps of the market pavilion. Not the shadow of a thought passes through his head. His eyes are immersed in the cosmic flickering of the Greek light. He watches the people going about their business. If it occurred to one of them to sit down in front of him and closely observe his face with an open heart, it could easily happen that the person would suddenly, disconcertedly begin to cry or to laugh, for no reason at all.